What is up, Wedding Film School? How you guys doing tonight? We are live. Excited to be with you guys tonight. I need to like sit in the middle of my camera because that is not very filmmaker of me. But anyway, excited to have some friends on tonight. Excited to just kind of do a bunch of different stuff. So I'm gonna just introduce hopefully I click on the right button. Which one? Okay. So tonight we got some people who I would consider to be good friends of mine, people who I really respect, who have been like, before they were friends, they were long distance mentors, people who I would like look up to, and then they became friends. And so what's really cool about our industry, guys, and I think this is the thing that hopefully would like push you even further into wedding filmmaking, is like, yeah, you can make good money and you can make awesome art. There's a lot of cool things about it. But at the core of it is like really, really cool people at the very top of the industry that you get to hang out with, and you realize like very approachable, cool people. And also they're really talented. And so without further ado, we got Alex and Whitney Douglas from Sculpting With Time.
Hey guys.
How you guys
Pretty
doing?
rad intro.
Oh no, hey, that's what it's all about on Wedding Film School. We're all about that. Like, just being cool to each other. So how you guys doing today? How's everything been?
Doing good, man. It's fun to be on. I haven't done really the live format thing, so I don't know why it feels a little scarier than something that's pre-recorded.
Oh, it is scarier. Like, see this black screen on our live stream? That's because one of our feeds didn't work.
It's mostly scarier for Jason.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm over here like bouncing around like with a chicken with my head cut off, running the live stream on a board. I had to rig up 2 computers plus a display. So yeah, it's a real blast to be doing this stuff. So
well, I'm sure everyone appreciates you doing it, and it's an honor to be on, man. And well, we got some crazy strobing happening.
What's happening in your house? Poltergeist. But
yeah, we just moved in, so they haven't we haven't really fixed everything just yet. So
dude, at your house,
strobing lights.
Your house is dope. So we got
it looks amazing.
We got Jared on here as well, by the way. How you doing, Jared?
Good, guys. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I hear you good. Jared's video is not working so good, but his audio is incredible. So
I don't know about that. Can't get the microphone to work either.
So anyway, so what we're going to do first, if you haven't seen Alex and Whitney's work, I'm just going to play their show reel from this year. I think it's really awesome, obviously. But I have a couple questions I might ask you guys, if that's okay.
I'd love for you too.
But in general, we're just going to check it out. And if you're not familiar with their work, well, you will be very soon. So here it is. This is the Sculpting With Time 2021 show reel.
Awesome.
If I ever hit play on this.
I've been waiting my whole life for this moment.
Thank you for trusting me. I've learned a lot, but I have yet to learn.
And I think of what's ahead of us, and it brings me such happiness.
Your face, your touch, your skin, the way you look at me, I can't help but smile.
I love you more than anything in the entire world. And I can't wait to marry you.
My commitment to you is forever.
It feels like we were meant to be together. The universe has brought us together through this life and future lives. We were just meant to be one.
There's nothing more I want in this world than a life with you. Whatever that may be. If we have everything, if we lose everything, I just don't think it would matter.
Paulo Coelho once said, "Love's just a word until someone comes along and gives it meaning. That love becomes the greatest adventure of our life."
Never stop shining. Don't ever stop.
I am so thankful to have you and so excited for the future.
So guys, we're all on screen, just so you know. But but that's the show reel. So if you haven't seen their work, now you've seen their work. What do you think, Bobby? Pretty decent.
It's pretty good. No, it's phenomenal. I feel like when did you guys edit that? I can't remember, but I've seen it before, and I've watched it like multiple times because I'm like, if I need inspiration, I'll just pull that up or something.
Every time I see that, there's like a couple of shots in there that I'm always like, how did they shoot that? Like, I can't imagine even like when you see our film that we give you, and then you imagine putting that bride in half those positions. I always think, I'm always like, how do they get, like, I want to go to shot. It's a really cool shot, really stunning. So this shot, I passed it. The hands on the face shot. You're shooting over that.
Oh, on the beach?
Yes.
On the beach, the portrait?
That was really complicated. I mean, it wasn't complicated, but it's harder than it looks, you know, because I have to be, whoever's shooting it, when he was directing it, I was shooting it, but I had to be in between the bride and the groom.
That's what.
So that you see his hands.
I want to show this shot because this is like the one shot that I always like look at and I'm like, how much buy-in do you have to have?
Like, this looks super awkward to anyone else walking by on the beach, seeing this like guy squatting down, holding some girl's neck, and then Alex behind. It looks pretty weird.
I don't think many people notice that shot, honestly. But yeah, it's actually one of my favorites. I use it. I can't stop using it. It's just
that one. Oh no, I missed it. I think that like the intimate stuff is always what gets me. Is like, obviously, like the epic stuff, the time lapses, like you have to have an eye for that. There's like a level of like you're bringing people into that world. But the things that always blow me away about really good wedding filmmakers is the way that they connect with couples, the way that they give them permission to do weird stuff. That finally found it. That is like all I honestly was like, is that Alex's hands?
I love it, man.
But
I love it because it allows the viewer to feel like she's literally looking at you and you're experiencing it first person, like a simulated like person's memories, and like that's your hands, and it's like really bringing you in.
And she wasn't like
engage
weird at all about like bringing that heat.
No, I mean
they did like a really pretty hot
steamy
beach sequence for us. So this is like so PG, man, like not weird at all.
Was that something? This is the sequence. This entire shoot, I'm always like, how do you get that kind of trust and buy-in from someone? Did they initiate like, hey, we want to be like kind of a wet t-shirt contest on the beach, like, or was it like, or were you like, oh, it'd be really cool if we did this? Like, because that I think is like, young filmmakers, just even a prompt in a portrait session is intimidating. Going to this level of riskiness, I think it's like vision, but of course, there's some courage there.
Yeah, I would say like we had 20 or 30 minutes and it was in Cabo, and so it was starting to rain, and it was like a soft rain, but there was still sun coming out. But it was either her hair was going to get wet, her dress was going to get wet, and she was going to be kind of frizzy and just kind of like not look right, or like you buy in and you get her really wet, and instead of just doing hands holding, like walking on the beach, like let's go for it. Let's lay down on the beach and like let the ocean waves crash over us and, you know, get all steamy eyed. And
I think too, like it really suited this couple. Their
Yeah.
chemistry, like
Definitely.
just like they're the couple that you would pitch this idea to because it was so them. And so I think it really was relevant. It felt totally appropriate, totally natural to them. And I think that's why the footage is successful, is because it really just captured their energy that they had with each other. So it felt really authentic to them. And I think, going back to one of the things you said earlier, I think when you approach things with genuine enthusiasm, you tell your couples, this is going to be freaking amazing, and I have this vision for it, and like, oh, it's going to be incredible. People can feel that. And so if you're genuinely enthusiastic and like confident about it, I think people are just like, yeah, sure, I'll do whatever you tell me to do, you know?
Yeah. And I would say too is like, one of the things I like about your work too is like, this is, I think, like an example of couples that are all about it. We also have that the classic breakers couple, but then we have this couple who is much more, I think, like what most people are working with, you know, more reserved. And how do you make them come out in your best light? How do you let their personality stand out? How do you make them look back and say, I look bad to the bone in this video? I look like myself too, though. You know, I look at this couple and I'm like, I don't see this edginess, but it still feels like intimate and personal.
But there's an edginess even to this personality that we were able to create.
That's true.
Yeah, they're very sophisticated and refined, but it's probably one of our more avant-garde films that we've produced. But I mean, it very well suited them. It felt very just French, I guess.
Well, they had this like, I mean, they were very reserved, like you said. I don't think we've ever had a couple that was more kind of just self-composed, and you couldn't really feel what was going on with them, you know? And yeah, I think because we didn't maybe have some of those super emotive speeches or kind of moments from them, the way that we could make their film bold and stand out was to take it another direction in this way that felt very kind of cutting edge, like you said.
Yeah.
What was going on here?
That was in Dubai, and that was some sort of choreographed ballerina performance that they had at the reception. And they were all like Russian dancers, I think.
Bobby, do you have anything you wanted to kind of just bring up? But
I wasn't planning on it, so I don't feel like I have anything prepared. I feel like we could dive into like every shot pretty much though and be like, how did this come about? Or like, I don't know. Like, I'm sure obviously the mindset shifts couple to couple, but that general, you know, kind of mindset of us, you know, when we dove into the last two shots is kind of how you approach most things. So
I had a question about some of these readings are so like my company has done 700 weddings in our lives. I've never had people read these things.
We're getting really yellow over here. I don't think it's set to tungsten. Give me just a second. You keep talking though.
Yeah. So I'm always looking at the consummate perfectionist, Alex Douglas. I just keep looking at mine. I'm like, I'm so blue. And I just can ignore it. But I'm always listening to your sound bites, and I'm always thinking in my head, like, how did they get that person? How much of it is like you picked a piece of art that you thought fit the couple? How much of it is real readings from the couple? And like, is there a mix of like reading after or getting actors? Like, I feel like it's so dramatically read.
So all of the audio from that show reel was all the brides and grooms speaking.
Yeah.
Naturally.
That's
no
incredible.
actors. We didn't give anyone scripts for that. That was just all really genuine, heartfelt audio from them. You know, this is our favorite little audio bits from years of filming weddings. And so we did choose very selectively. Not all of our audio sounds like that, but I think we just do a good job of trying to set the tone and really like ground people and really kind of prepare them and like tell them to be present and like kind of step outside of the moment for a little bit. You know, we try to create the right environment that's conducive for people to be more open and expressive like that.
So are most of these readings happening in like a separate environment, or are they coming from ceremonies or things like that? Is that part of your process?
No, it's like, you know, on the wedding day, but just like when you're doing a card reading, but just like doing a little interview type thing. But
and some of that's from ceremony,
Yeah,
but I
some of
think
it's
people
from
feel more
ceremony.
intimate when they're not in front of 150 people or whatever reading vows. You know, they just sound different in that case.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna do one more question.
But like Whitney was saying, I think it's, you know, you are the director, even though it is a live event, like you still are the director. So just, even with card readings, I just feel like it feels like they're reading like an acceptance speech, you know? So like chasing sort of that authenticity is something that I feel like is kind of elusive in our industry, and something that I'm always trying to hunt down and capture in one way or another.
I think even being like cognizant of that is such a huge step that you can make as a filmmaker. I don't know, like I think I'm even guilty of going into a letter reading and approaching it and you know, not, I mean, kind of being mindful of what I'm after and
you're kind of
whatnot,
expecting it to be to
yeah, kind of. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Or
you're just like,
not
it's just gonna be
not doing the
platitudes
full part on my part to get the emotions out of the couple that I want. I think that's something that, you know, from knowing you two, I've certainly picked up on that being something you guys are amazing at. Obviously, it shows in your work as well. So
yeah,
it's cool to hear that. It's kind of delicate, right? Because there's a certain amount of etiquette to it. Because if a bride reads a letter that she wrote for her fiance on the wedding day, and you don't think she sounded very genuine, like there's something very awkward about that, right? So I think that you can't be like, okay, that was fine, but can you just redo that and say it like you mean it? So like, I do think kind of coaching things at the very beginning and letting them kind of close their eyes and kind of talking about the nature of like, okay, this is like your wedding day, and I want you to like ground yourself in this moment and feel how monumental this is, and like really sit in that moment for a minute and, you know, read this as though you were speaking directly to your partner, not like you're reading a book or something, and just kind of coaching people before they even start, so there's not that awkwardness afterwards.
This is the pro tips, guys. So one more question. What does this guy say?
I've waited my whole life for this.
Not this
moment.
one, the next guy. What is this guy? Where is he? I'm gonna.
Thank you for trusting.
Thank you for trusting me.
I've learned a lot, but I've yet to learn.
I've learned a lot, but I've yet to learn.
What does that mean?
It means like I'm not a know-it-all. Like I'm still at your mercy to be a better person, I guess. Something.
It sounds cool. That's for sure.
Yeah. I thought it was cool because it was kind of self-deprecating. Like it's not like, you know, and you don't really get that sort of vulnerability from someone in a letter reading. And I thought it was a cool way to just kind of start things off and be like,
he definitely sounded smarter than me.
Expectations are, you know, for something like that. Let's try and like defy them from the beginning.
He had a cool voice. I was like wanting him to read everyone's letters.
I know. I think part of that's the reason why I like it so much is I just like how he talks.
Yeah. He's cool. Hey, so guys, definitely check out Sculpting With Time on their Instagram. If you don't follow them, you know, kind of true masters and really good at their craft. But before we get into the rest, Bobby, who is sponsoring our show today?
We have got YOLO Live sponsoring our show. They create the YOLO box, which I've got right here. YOLO box is an all-in-one streaming and switching solution. So if you are not offering live streaming, you should certainly check it out. YOLO box makes it nice and easy to do. You can run multiple cameras in here. audio sources. You can put an SD card in here and record right to it. And touchscreen, so you're just switching between different cameras. Stream to a variety of different platforms, so many thanks to them for sponsoring today's live stream. And you can check them out. I'll paste a link for you in the chat. If you are interested in starting live streaming or in getting a yellow box, you can check it out at the link in the chat.
And before we get going, guys, it really helps our show a lot if you go ahead and hit the like button and tell people that this is something you enjoy. Tell YouTube that you enjoy this. Let them know this is a good time. I want more good times. You know, one of the things I always will tell people about is a couple years ago. Now it's crazy. It was a couple years ago. Darn you, 2020. I went to this cool event called Vision Quest, and Vision Quest was something that I really, really enjoyed. And it really, really it's an event that they put on, Alex and Whit, and with a bunch of other filmmakers. And it's just one of those things that I remember being like an important moment for me as a creator. And I'm obviously thankful for Alex and Whitney for putting it on. But kind of, what was the inspiration to wanting to do this event, Alex? Sorry, you're laughing.
Sorry, guys. We just had a little giggle fit.
Did I say something bad?
No, not at all.
So what was the inspiration for doing this event?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question.
Oh, God.
It's live.
We're live.
I know. This
Okay.
is so fun. I feel like I'm like in elementary school or something, and like, you know,
On the
teacher
spot.
calls on you,
Yeah.
and that makes you laugh harder. But for Vision Quest, I think it's one of those things like there really wasn't an event for filmmakers that were running successful businesses that felt really confident in their skill set, where they could all come together and get inspired and learn from each other and learn more, but also have it be a very social, meaningful space for everyone to meet up in real life. You know, I feel like a lot of the event filmmaking workshops are much more geared towards maybe people starting out, or maybe it covers information that's not as necessary for someone that's been in the business a few years to be learning. And so we just kind of wanted to create a platform for that, you know?
Yeah.
Totally.
I would say that it's pretty accurate. I think with our films, you know, we just always want to kind of create something, one that is unique to us, that we're willing to kind of just not. For so long, I would say I cared about like the trends, you know, and just trying to fit in and just try and do what everyone else was doing. And then we had a few events just in our personal life that just told us to like just do whatever felt right to us. And so we kind of just started playing around and pushing different boundaries and kind of pulling from our extensive kind of backgrounds and experiences, and just trying to find our own voice. But then part of like our editing process after making films for so long was to edit things that just we enjoyed watching or enjoyed working on. And I think in the end, Vision Quest just was like, oh, there's not an event that I would want to go to. Well, I want to create an event that like is on par with our films, like creates that sort of boldness, that spectacle, that uniqueness, but I want it to be something that like I would personally want to go to. So in a selfish way, like I just felt like there was something missing from sort of the event space and from like the community and the culture. And I feel like we spend so much time, you know, in these forums, which are great, or they're amazing, because we learn so much collectively from each other, and otherwise we would feel like, you know, writers in the storm, just in the middle of the night, you know, in total darkness. So that they do really connect us and bring us together. But at the same time, I feel like, you know, we're all just posting Instagram photos of, you know, all the cool places we're shooting, and you know, maybe we see other people's work that we post online, and we feel competitive, or like, oh, that was so good, I wish I would have done that, or oh, that wasn't that good, I don't know why I got that many likes, you know, or we're always judging or comparing ourselves to everyone else. And I just feel like you know, Vision Quest was meant to kind of just break down, like just get us all together, you know, like we're all more similar than we are different, and we all have the same struggles, we all have the same like triumphs, and it's great to like, you know, hear from these speakers or inspirational people, but like they're not gods, they're just, you know, they're not a big deal. I mean, sure, they're successful, but they're just like, you know, we're all the same.
Like you said earlier, Jason, they're all just like, we're all just regular people. I mean, you can have a one-on-one connection from people. You can really, I think, gain a lot of confidence in the way you approach things and the way you think about your business, maybe the way you want to take your business, and we can just learn from each other in professional ways, but then just in personal ways, and, you know.
Yeah, it sounds like trite to say, but like the conversations I've had with people about that, the friendships that were formed, but the conversations are like life stuff.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of people, I'm not going to say go to Vision Quest, you'll make friends for life. Like, you know, maybe you will, maybe you won't, but you could. And like, especially if you find peers. And I would say this to you, if you're out there and you're sitting there and you're like, I feel peerless, like I'm at the top of my game in my region where I am. Every time I talk to someone about my problems, they can't really understand where I'm coming from. They can't understand, like, you just want people who understand you. You got to go hang out with people that kind of do what you do. And I think Vision Quest is a great place to do it. So we're going to post a link because we want you to buy a ticket. There's a few more left. And we're going to be there. Jared and I are going to be there. We're going to be hanging out. Alex and Whit are, of course, going to be there. We got a bunch of, I had lunch with Henry Martins today. He's going to be there. I'm honestly really excited about Philip Bloom. He's going to be there. Like, we got Fire and Ice. We got our friends Bottle Brush. I'm missing people. A lot of people are going to be there. And you want to go. So we're going to play just a little promo. And Bobby's going to post a link in the chat if you want to buy a ticket. Why delay? Just buy it right now as we're sitting here and let it roll through.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yes.
I think something that we all struggle with too, as being wedding filmmakers, is just always having to be on. You know, like, oh yeah, it's someone's wedding, but you're trying to be creative and spit this stuff out nonstop with these edits and with the shooting, and you always have to be on. And you're not working on your own timetables. You're running a business, so you have to have this renewable resource, creativity, that like isn't necessarily, you can't renew it, you know, as easily or as quickly as you need to. And so I think just something that Vision Quest is really just about, as well as just giving you a chance to like get inspired again. You know, we're not going to teach you how to shoot a ceremony. We're not going to teach you basics, but there is a lot of education involved. But it's more about like just like finding that spark again, and finding, you know, just that renewable resource, and just like, oh yeah, this is really cool stuff, this is all really valuable information, and just, we're all sponges, and just being in the right environment and just, you know, absorbing like really high quality information, high quality films, unique perspectives on viewing the world, on viewing, you know, making films, and what each, you know, filmmaker that's a speaker, what their sources of inspiration are, and just kind of recalibrating, I'd say, is a huge thing. And I felt like all the sort of workshops were just kind of really about the basics, and there wasn't anything for that, you know, what would you say, middle to
more intermediate to advanced,
intermediate to advanced filmmakers. And just because those people are making money and successful doesn't mean like there shouldn't be a space for them to, you know, learn and grow and just get inspired again. And sort of like our mantra is, you know, always the student, never the master. So no matter what level you're at, like there's always space to grow and learn.
Well, we're going to be about 30 weddings in at that point, so we're going to be looking for that refreshing on our end. So without further ado, guys, we're going to check out the trailer for Vision Quest. So you get a ticket right now. Oh, darn it. I blew it. You got to hear that initial sound, so I'm going to rewind it because I particularly like it. What are you waiting for, people? Come hang out with us at Wedding Film School and a bunch of other people that are also awesome. Who is Matt's going to be there? I mean, I don't know, man. If you're there, you are square. Or if you're not there, you are square. So, so we're looking forward to it. So without further ado, we're going to get into some films tonight, and we're just going to bust through as much as we can without taking you guys too long. You know, and we thought we'd just in the interest of being fair, we were like, let's just start with one of our films that we shot. I don't know. When did we shoot this one, Jared?
This one was shot by Caleb, one of our shooters, in, I think it was the end of May, if it's the one that I think you're going to show.
How old is Caleb?
Yeah, end of May.
What was that? How old is Caleb?
Caleb is 22 now? 22, 23? Sorry, Caleb.
Yeah. So,
early 20s.
Or I thought he was younger. He's very boyish, and my wife calls him Cutie Dimples. So, so anyway, this is shot by one of our team members, and we thought we'll just put one of our films in because, believe it or not, we just do like basic weddings all the time, just normalish weddings, and our goal, if you're watching this in the outside interwebs, our goal is to just make films that make a couple feel familiar, connected to what it was that they went through. We're not going for anything crazy, but I was like, let's just put ourselves first, hear the feedback, and that way any other people who are taking bullets tonight will know that we took them first. Because so you can be savage with us.
Well, I like the idea too, because, you know, I don't think people have really seen the work that we do, Jay. Besides what we do on the channel, I guess we haven't really.
We did one Huxley film one time, but this is more representative, I think, of what we're producing week in, week out. We've done 30 weddings in the last 3 weeks like this. So
if I could have a slogan for our company, it would be normal ass weddings for normal ass people. That would be it.
Do you want to do it? Do you want to watch a normal wedding? Here it is.
Do I watch a normal ass wedding? Here it is. Yeah.
But that's part of what our charm. We like this type of thing. We like these people. We like just feeling like we're part of a family event. That's our thing. So, do you guys want to cue it up on your end? And
yeah, we got it queued up.
Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna play.
3, 2, 1, and let me know when. Now, are we supposed to talk throughout it, or are we just supposed to wait till the end?
I would say, let's just get through the films tonight because we got a lot going on. So we'll just. If you want to stop, though, feel free to say stop. But also, we can just go all the way through, especially for ours. Like, we'll just go all the way through. So here we go.
Are you starting it?
I'm starting it.
Okay, I'm starting mine.
Masons, when they start upon a building, are careful to test out the scaffolding. Make sure that planks won't slip at busy points. Secure all ladders, tighten bolted joints. And yet, all this comes down when the job's done, showing off walls of sure and solid stone. So if, my dear, there sometimes seem to be old bridges breaking between you and me, never fear. We may let the scaffolds fall, confident that we have built our wall.
Good job petting that dog.
Really thought this day would never happen. I am truly the luckiest girl in the world to be able to spend the rest of my life with someone who I know loves me unconditionally, because I have definitely tested those conditions.
Because of you, I have slowly and surely become the me I have always dreamed of being. I love you not just because of who you are, but because of who I am when I am with you.
As your wife, I promise to love you through all of the lucky and unlucky days. I promise to always put our relationship first, to support you like you have supported me, and to keep desperately searching for TV shows that we mutually agree on. You're my best friend, and I'm the luckiest person to call you my husband.
I couldn't imagine growing old without being by your side. And from this moment on, I promise I always will be. I love you without knowing how or when or from where. I don't know any other way to love you except to love you simply and with all my heart, in which there is no I or you, only us.
Chris and Molly as husband and wife. Chris, you may now kiss the bride.
Even at a good time, even on a better day, let's just show it. Or maybe take it slowly, just knowing we can disappear right now. Fight through all these feelings, just feeling what's real.
Duck leads a life he could only dreamed of when he was wandering the streets of North Philadelphia. Before Molly and Chris rescued him, and he rescued them, and they gave him and themselves the wonderful life that they have.
Their personalities complement each other well, and I see them bring out the best in one another. You two make such a great couple. I know Chris will be a great husband.
Molly could not marry someone unless their affection and love for their pet was as deep as hers. And it's clear that Chris loves Duck as much as Molly. And Duck may love Chris more than Molly.
Just knowing we can disappear right now. Fight through all these feelings, just feeling what's real.
into their lives so fully and compassionately that every time I'm with either of them, our differences fall away and I feel seen and supported and loved. And as cliche as it might sound, I feel at home.
I'm sure I speak for Jared and for everyone when I say that I'm so happy for both of you, and I can't wait to see what your future together will hold.
Just know we can disappear right now. Fight through all these feelings, just feeling what's real. We'll do it all on our own again. Just do it all on our own again. We don't have to do it all alone again.
So that's it. That's our super normal wedding for normal people.
All right, cool guys.
So we usually mention this, so I'll just do our normal thing. That was shot on Fuji X-T4s. Whole thing was shot Fuji, and the couple ordered a 5 to 7 minute highlight film. So one of the things we're always talking about on the show is just, you got to make it the length that you sold. So every once in a while.
And the price point.
And the price point. Oh yeah, and that was where was that, Jared? I don't remember what our prices are.
I'm looking it up right now.
It's our own company. We don't even know how much we sold it for. I think it was like 37.
Yeah, 37.50, 3,750.
Yeah, because that's one of the things we're always looking for people is what is the value to the couple? Is it resellable? Can you charge more? All that good stuff. So anyway, guys, that's the nuts and bolts. That's the film. What do you guys think?
That's cool, man. I don't really know the format that you guys are doing here, so it feels a little cold feet jumping into this. This being the first one is just us talking.
I think
about
it
the
was
film.
totally charming. I thought you got a great sense of the couple, like really early on in the film. Like I think they felt very genuine and authentic, and I liked all of the dialogue going back and forth between them and all the audio for sure. And the footage was solid. It was all solid footage.
Yeah, I think, it being a linear film style, I think for your clientele that really works for them. For us, ours is more non-linear and kind of bounces back and forth between a bunch of select different moments. But I felt like, you did have all these different narrative bits that were woven in, and it felt like there weren't too many gaps. Everything felt pretty tight as far as the narrative that was built. I guess like just a few things I would say is like ceremony, like some of the ceremony stuff felt like it was blown out. It's hard to always get the highlights for like outdoors, especially like the whites, like bride. I make that mistake probably, a fair amount of time, and this is one of your shooters who's,
Especially if you're using a Fujifilm X-T4, Alex, they blow out the highlights.
Let's
like
just say
in 2
unforgiving.
yeah, I'd imagine. But I also did notice like just a lot of the B-roll for the ceremony. I was very like drawn into that. Like the shot of the gimbal operator that was going down on the outside of the aisle while the bride was going down the center of the aisle. Like that shot really stuck out to me. It's a hard shot to get, where like you don't just get a bunch of bodies in the foreground like looking through the side of the aisle, but it lined up perfectly to where she was going down the aisle in between the crowd of people that were standing.
Well, it was a whole kind of full, rich sequence for a few different angles of that moment happening, and we all know it takes 10 seconds for the bride to walk down the aisle. So I thought that was really cool too.
So there were some impressive B-roll shots, I felt like, of a lot of the ceremony, even just like the subtle push-ins from down the aisle and stuff like that. I feel like sometimes in the heat of the battle, like you can kind of forget, you're like just worried about all your continuous camera angles, and you forget about some of the beauty of the ceremony. And it just takes a few like gimbal shots just to kind of like get that checklist down. But I think one of those push-ins is kind of like kind of overlooked sometimes, and you're like, oh, I can just like push it and keyframe it in post, but it doesn't look the same as like actually walking and pushing in. So stuff like that I thought looked really nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, mixed lighting, I thought for the bride prep, like that's hard to pull off and to look good. I feel like a lot of people, like if you leave a lamp on or leave a light on, like just little details like that, it can like totally screw up like just sort of the light balance of like what you end up getting on camera. And it looked more like it looked like in a photo, to where like mixed lighting looks good in a photo, but like if you have like your white balance, you're trying to turn that yellow light like normal colored, and then like all the natural light coming from the windows like neon blue, you know, just it can end up like really looking bad when there's mixed lighting. So I thought that was tactfully and successfully done.
You're speaking into Jared's heart right now. These are like the 4 things. Like a lot of those things we try to do every wedding.
Yeah.
So like that shot of the bride walking down the aisle, that's one of like our signature shots. We do it as much as we possibly can. We train people on it, even getting them to nail their manual focus before the ceremony starts, like because just things like that. So that's good to hear that you noticed it. That's cool, because those are things that we train and want people to do well. And just mixed lighting. I feel like a lot of people don't realize the difference between like $1,000 on their wedding film is just nailing mixed lighting scenarios.
Yeah.
Like it's such a, it's not, maybe not simple, but it's so unsexy, but it is like the difference between like coming across as like professional and coming across as amateurish. And so I think it's great that you point to that. We talk about that a lot on the show, and when these critiques is like, hey guys, this is a thing. If you can nail this, it's going to let you sell weddings every weekend. If you can't nail it, it's going to be tricky. So so we're going to look at some other people's films right now, even though unless you
I would say one last little bit of criticism was just the outro felt a little abrupt.
Yes.
So like I loved how, you know, you went to the dancing, but just sort of some cue that it was going to end, maybe just even like some sort of longer reverse symbol and like some sort of like crescendo or something, but it just felt like it ended just a little abruptly for it.
Maybe cutting to some like portrait footage of the couple towards the end, so it wasn't just ending at the reception.
Yeah.
We always tell people to do that, and we didn't do it ourselves. But
it's dangerous to show your own films on this, because there's a lot of people in chat who be like, hey, wait a second. Last time you reviewed me, you told me to do this, and you didn't even do it.
Yeah, definitely. So Jared's gonna. You want to say anything different?
Yeah, really quick. I mean, I think it's interesting because when Jason and I were like trying to decide like what film we should actually, you know, put up today, I sent Jason this one because I was like, well, this one's done. It's recent, like, and we both kind
really
of
well
the same
thought
thing.
out.
We're like, well, you know, the beginning is just kind of boring. Like, you know, it's a boring intro. I like the second half of the film. It has good pacing. It has like a cool like Sufjan Stevens film or song to it, and it seems kind of like lighthearted, good mood. I think it matched the couple perfectly. But in general, like the first half is just kind of boring, and I'm like, you know, I think it's okay for this couple because I think it maybe, I don't know, it's something that they'll really enjoy at the end of the day, and so it's like that balance of like, what is something that is actually like you would view as like being really good, and then also what is something that at the end of the day, like, would the couple enjoy something that I thought was really good, or would they just want to hear themselves say their vows and, you know, do that kind of stuff? So I think what Jay said is kind of interesting, where it's like, you know, doing something that's just kind of like doing a baseline wedding and then building off of that eventually and becoming more creative. Like, I think what we try to do is like, we try to just get a wedding that most people out there are just going to really, really enjoy. And I thought this did it, even though at the beginning is probably like a little slow for the two of us. We both were like, they're going to love it. But like, if it was my wedding film, I would probably want it to be a little bit faster, a little bit more pace. But yeah, I think that's good feedback, guys. I appreciate it.
You got to know what your wins are too. I mean, like, Alex and Whitney, their win is different than our win. And like, cause I'm going, I shot 30 weddings in the last 3 weeks. How can they be that good? If I do 30 weddings and they're that good, I'm freaking stoked.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
because I'm like, I was looking at a wedding from somebody who shot 5 weddings. This is their 5th wedding. And I was like, this is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And like, that's where we're at in our careers. Like, I'm more about like, what can I pour into other people and pull out of them as filmmakers? And like, so I'm stoked. Like, I was like, I want to show them someone else's film, not my film, but someone on the team, because that person deserves to be known. Caleb deserves to be recognized publicly for being a good filmmaker. And
For sure.
so thank you for doing that, guys, because he's the best. So
Well, and context is everything. So, you know, I couldn't imagine shooting 30 weddings and having them look that good.
Jeez.
Like, I wouldn't even know where to start with the workflow or having the team or, you know, anything like that. So I think, you know, it all depends on what lens you're looking through viewing this stuff. And I think it's only fair to like point out, there are a lot of things that I really liked about it, but to point out a few
totally
things to criticize as well.
Well, especially because a criticism isn't fair if you can actually fix it.
Yeah,
or it's not
exactly.
unfair. It's like if you can do it better, and within the if you were to say like, I didn't notice any time lapses, I would be like, there's no time to make the time lapse, so I can't do it. Like, so I think like that's really what it comes down to, and that's how we do it. So I want to show you the next film. So I'll do the actual format, guys, so you can hear how we do this. The next film is by Kyle Smith. We've seen your films before, 87 and Smith. So he says, tell us about the film. He says, super hot day, all outdoors. Cicadas were screaming from the trees, which were impacting the audio. I was also struggling with audio quality at the reception toast due to 30-year-old equipment and an audio guy who didn't know what they were doing. Been there. Pretty happy with the finished film. I love the Jewish traditions and the energy they bring. Filmed on a Sony A7S III, Ronin S, monopod, and tripods all day. So this is the film. He charged $6,100 for this film.
I think Kyle's going to be at Vision Quest.
He is going to be at Vision Quest.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
I wanted him to get this chance because I think he deserves it, and there's a lot to like here. But I do have some criticism, Kyle, so get ready. But also you guys. So when you guys are ready, we're going to get started.
Yeah, we're ready to cue it up. And I have to say already, I love this intro. I watched this one already.
It's so beautiful.
Beautiful.
It's so beautiful. Here we go.
Like, what is this transition in the very beginning? But it hooks you so well.
I want to say a big thank you to everyone for being here tonight and for being in our lives. We are so lucky to have known you from each point at each location, from Baltimore and Fairfax to Rochester, New York, to New York City and New Orleans. But I really need to give a special shout out to the person who made this entire day and weekend possible, my extraordinary mother, Ann Bennett.
And now, Ariel, you're going to take this talit, this brand new talit. So the talit that you're using, we're told in our tradition, is a reminder. It's a reminder always for whom we serve and where we belong. And may this talit that Ariel is draping over Adin's shoulders in this moment serve always as a reminder of who the two of you are and where you both belong together.
affection and happiness you feel now under the chuppah always encircle you. Together in respect, companionship, and love, hear each other's voices. May you sing and dance in your own ways, together, joyfully.
Amen.
Mazel tov.
There are also no words to describe how happy we are for you and Nadine today. We could see why Ariel was crazy for him. We wish you nothing but happiness with your new adventure buddy, your best friend, and now your husband.
He saw a version of me that was happy and confident on a stage, where I was in my element. Not the nervous wreck I often am, or the person who is too reserved to let anyone in. I'm gonna cry. He saw someone who I wanted to be. So, I'm grateful for every day you make me feel like that person, and for seeing me through those eyes.
If everyone would raise a glass, Mazel Tov. We love you both. To Ariel and Nadine forever.
Great job, Kyle. Really enjoyed your film. As soon as, yeah. So guys, you know, why don't we kind of break it down 3 ways? We typically look at cinematography and just, you know, basically camera operation, the shots you get. I think there's also the way you choose to use your shots, which is your editing and your storytelling. And then I think that's kind of like where we kind of typically leave it, just those 2 real elements. And then ultimately, like the vibe of it, which comes down to, you know, value to the couple and just things we think they can get better at in general. So what are your thoughts, guys?
This is beautiful. I mean, the footage is gorgeous. The cinematography, the grading, the diffusion, it's really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That's the thing that I keep getting struck by when I see it.
Yeah, I would say cinematography in general is just, it's very well shot. A lot of, you know, unique creative angles, like Whitney was saying, the color, the diffusion. I feel like a lot of times people can get stuck shooting everything a little too tight. And I felt like there was a good balance between wide and tight on a lot of this stuff. So I appreciated that. A good balance between slow-mo and normal speed, which some people can just go a little too slow-mo on everything. So like having that change up even just here and there to shots that aren't slow-mo, I think really just gives the viewer like a chance to kind of reset and recalibrate, and it just kind of plays with time a little bit better if you can kind of mix those different speeds. So I thought that was pretty successful. Yeah, just in general, I mean, cinematography was on point.
Yeah, I think Kyle always brings it. And I'm
That
curious
shot
about
right there was
Yes.
incredible. I wanted to know about that.
Yeah, I want to know about this, Kyle. Was this just like you found a little pool of light? Kyle's in chat, so you can probably answer this. Was this like a little pool of light?
He said that's window light.
Yeah, it's window light right there. That's just.
That does not look like window light.
It looks like a spotlight.
No.
Yeah.
That's just the difference between like a pro shooter but also like a storyteller and like someone who's new who would avoid that. They'd be like, oh, it's going to be all spotted. And like, I feel like when I see stuff like that, I'm like, this guy knows what he's doing and he's like present. He's not freaking out. He's like chilling, ready in his element.
Well, most people are going to be freaking out with this scenario too. Like, oh, she's putting on her earrings. So automatically I'm going to be shooting it head on, you know, to get a shot of her putting on her earring. I'm not like, oh, I want to get the lighting perfect. And I care more about her hand and how the light's hitting, you know, her hair or her veil there than I would like making sure she is the subject, like, and I'm getting her eyes in the shot. So I thought that was like that's one of the shots I had in my notes. I'm glad you could pull it up. That was like a very creative choice and bold and risky choice by the filmmaker to do this, and it knocked it out of the park. It looks great.
Yeah, I actually like through, you know, even like the shot, I love the way this right here, which is a story element, but it's also, she's talking about her mom. That. I love introducing mom that way. I got a personality of who she was. Like, she's talking, like, oh, she's in control, right? She helped plan the wedding. Like, I felt like I got to know her by introducing her that way. Instead of the typical, my mom, and then she's walking down the aisle.
Yeah.
You know, I just thought that was such a smart way to introduce her. And that's a great shot, too. Again, using some of that very harsh, tricky light.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like it's these moments that, like, you can typically overlook as a wedding filmmaker. Like, maybe you're taking the moment off. It's like, oh, I have to be on for when the mom's putting the bride in her dress and when the mom's, you know, walking her down the aisle. But, like, these sort of, like, character, you know, building portraits are somewhat overlooked. So, you know, a lot of times filmmakers wouldn't be rolling in this scenario. So yeah, just the bride and groom prep are great chances. You know, the bride's getting her makeup done and she's got like crazy makeup circles under her eyes or whatever, and you're not going to film her. So, you know, just be on the prowl, be on the hunt, and always have your camera ready. And you never know what kind of like sort of diamonds in the rough you might be able to capture like that. That was a great way of utilizing that footage and the edit, like you said, to introduce her that way, to build a lot of a sense of character.
What else you guys want to bring up about the cinematography? Or Bobby, do you have anything?
I mean, I'm always impressed with the way Kyle shoots. Obviously a very strong point of his. I really like, I mean, I'm trying to think back to other films and I unfortunately can't remember specifically. So I don't think that there's any, you know, films that we've seen of his where this isn't the case. But yeah, I mean, the use of light, specifically in the prep, and that contrast and just harsh shadows is so cool. And you get a lot of that, like, you know, especially with things like the shoes and the veil. There were 2 shots of that where you get these shots, or the it was like an invitation or something like that, where you get these shots that, like, or even the piano stuff too, like, look essentially black and white, and they aren't, but just the way it's framed and the way that contrast and the light is used makes it, you know, feel that way. And obviously just the color selection and the, you know, light fall off on, you know, pretty harshly on either side of where the subject is, like the bridal shoes or whatever, stuff like that, I always really, really love. And then, you know, just always, in addition to the use of light, just the framing, I'm always just totally blown away by. I think, you know, really definitely has an eye for light and an eye for framing. Like, even some of that stuff, like what the corner of the roof and some of that, like, establishing shot stuff is just static. You know, what a lot of people would go throw on a gimbal and get a bunch of movement or whatever, which is totally fine too. But, like, you get these just super well framed, well composed shots.
Do you like the
and they work.
Gladiator?
Yeah, and you just it works even better sometimes, you know. So
It's a classy shot. It's hard not to use that because like you can only do so much on a wedding day. So like, oh, I got some
That's a great
reeds.
point.
Like, I might as well have her like her hand through it. It does feel, you know, like it could be a little played out here and there, but like in this format, like there, it's a beautiful looking shot. There's no reason I wouldn't do that to that couple. Like they had never seen that before. Like,
Well,
I'm
they
sure
want to
it's
see
really special.
themselves.
With the rest of that portrait footage.
They want to feel like Gladiator.
That's what I always think about it is like when you think about a wedding film and people are like, I've seen that shot before. I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if you were in it? Like,
yeah,
like that's what we get to do for couples. So let's talk about the editing because whenever we talk about Kyle, one of the things, and Kyle, I love you, bro, but I always talked it, in my opinion, is like the pacing of the films. I feel like a lot of times we get all the best stuff in the first 1 minute, which is clearly better than putting all the best stuff at the end. So like I give a lot of credit. And then we kind of run out of gas throughout the film. That's my takeaway from it as from an editing standpoint. And almost like the second song wants to be from a film that's bigger than the actual film we're watching. That's my takeaway. What did you guys feel about the editing and the storytelling and kind of the pacing of it?
Who's you guys? Is it always just us, or?
Yeah, you guys is always just
Okay.
you.
All
Sorry,
right.
you're the heroes of the show.
Well, there are
tonight.
like a lot of people here, so I'm like.
But anybody
I don't
can
wanna feel
answer.
like I
Of
can
course,
jump
anyone
in.
can jump in.
Okay.
Well, I think that intro was like so solid and really like, what are we looking at? It's beautiful and the sound was dramatic. And so we kind of felt immediately engaged in it because of.
Even just before the intro, like the first two shots, like
Mhm.
it does a very good job of hooking you as far as like literally what am I looking at? And I think that's the hardest thing. Excuse me, on Instagram or on Facebook is like catching your viewer and getting them to keep watching your film.
Yep.
So it does a really good job of hooking the viewer right
Just
away.
immediately.
And everything is very, technically beautiful and there's a consistent pacing. I would say definitely in the intro, like you said, it does feel stacked towards the beginning, but I feel like if you're going to stack your cards one way or another,
Totally.
It should be towards the beginning because that's how you're hooking your viewer. From it, sorry,
Well, I was
plug
gonna
in our
say-
battery real quick. Keep
I was
going.
going to say, it's kind of something you touched upon earlier too, Jason. It's like if you're contracted for a 5 to 7 minute film, it needs to be a certain length.
Yes.
I enjoyed the pacing of this, but at a certain point, if this was one of our edits, I would be like, oh, maybe we could cut out 30 seconds here. Maybe we could slim this down
Great
a little
point. But it would
bit
be a
and make
shorter
it
film.
a little bit
Yeah.
more, a little bit faster throughout certain parts.
I
Yeah.
wonder if
So like we would have that be a 4 minute film,
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's contractually what you're obligated to, what you're selling your clients. I still think for that duration it was very successful. I think you could get away with in the second half, even if the footage is still focusing more on the reception. You can still work with the tempo of the edit to kind of match the tone of the energy of the song. A little more.
Can I play a section of it for you guys? And I think this would be kind of where maybe it might, if we're stacking a little bit more drama, I think it would help here. Let me give you some audio too. I need that.
Amen.
Mazel tov! I feel like right there, the film needs to land, in a way, because I feel like we're kind of going like Mazel tov. We're hanging the shot still. We haven't cut. We haven't like ba 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 ba. Like I feel like that's just my takeaway, Kyle. When I'm watching it, is like maybe like since you chose to pick such an epic song, which I think is a really cool song. I liked it a lot. But maybe kind of just like really finding like 1 or 2 or 3 just shots to just land with and punctuate those strikes
Cool.
with. But anyway, that's my little bit of personal critique, Kyle, is like I really wanted the film to like get me right here, right there, and then I was still watching him standing on the glass.
I would say, yeah, that was one of the notes I wrote was you could either amp up that cut there or soften that transition from the romantic music to reflect to like the higher energy reception. So even just like some sort of like the winds blowing and like some sort of reverse cymbal that's coming up, or something that like lets you know that transition is happening, but like the transition felt a little abrupt. And so if it is going to feel abrupt, then maybe you have like you were saying, a faster cut in there, as far as instead of leaving them hanging with them walking, or right away have people clapping to like mix in with that bang of the next sound coming in. But a lot of that could just be with just one or two. But I think the main thing I would say with any critique or criticism here, this is already like a very technically sound, very, very good film. So anything that's being said here, like you're already doing a great job. You're already, ahead of the pack. You're doing a great job. Anything that's being said here is just to like add that little extra polish to like take it to the next level, so like I would already feel like you already know, you do feel that way. I would already feel very good about this, but any feedback is just like, okay, I'm already this good. I'm already great. Like, what do I do to like, keep pushing it?
Yeah, even if he had like a couple like macro looking shots or just more out of focus, they're just stuff to like, it doesn't need to be like the killer portrait stuff. It could just be motion, just things that will bring it. But I also think a lot of people feel pressured to always nail this really epic song, even if the couple maybe didn't have an epic reception. And I would say, like, if you feel more comfortable keeping it more low key, I think that would be cool too, Kyle. Is like, you don't need to feel pressure to be like fit the luxury filmmaking mold of like dramatic song, cinematic epic song. I think I just feel like you're like this close to figuring out some creative voice that is going to be so special. And I want you to unlock that because I'm really excited about where you're headed.
Jay, if I could just hop in really quick. The thing about Kyle's work is every time I watch a film from 87 to Smith, like it definitely feels like this has Kyle's fingerprints all over it. Like he's definitely working on just creating his own kind of like personal like voice, even from the very beginning. And it's always really great. Every time I watch Kyle's films, I'm like, he's working on something, and I just love what he's working on because I don't feel like it's really inspired from like what other filmmakers are doing. It's he's trying to like work on his own thing, and I love that because Kyle's like, he's a full artist, man. Like I really see him as like he's trying to develop his own thing, like, and I really am inspired by it personally. And I think once he gets a hold of like whatever he's working on and working through, he's just gonna like freaking explode. So,
yeah, I feel the same way, Kyle. So I hope like that's me and Jared speaking from our hearts, and obviously I think Alex and Whit speaking from their hearts. So any last second stuff that you had in your notes, Alex?
One last thing, just the piano. I really like that in the first shot or second shot, I guess. And then it comes up later on, and it's a really beautiful handheld, kind of feels like it's a mini airplane flying over the piano or into the piano. It's like this first person perspective of an air. It's like a very unique handheld.
I remember the shot
going into the airplane. I love the shot technically, and I love the piano being used earlier. But as far as it felt like there was maybe something trying to build there as far as it being sort of like a character or whatever, and they're both like very beautiful shots, but like it just felt maybe a little random just being there in the intro and then just being at that like 6-minute mark. But like little things like that I think are great to like pick up on, like, oh, I definitely need more content, like it's a 7-minute film, or like what's going on other than the wedding that would be exciting to shoot or to incorporate into the film. So
we've
like,
all done that.
yeah, no, so I think it's great. And I think you can see like we did that San Diego, like old Hollywood film style. And like there was like this typewriter poet that was in the what do you call it?
Cocktail hour.
Cocktail hour. I was going to call it a happy hour. And she was doing this old timey typewriter and just doing these poems for all the guests.
What a cool idea.
Yeah, it was cool.
Really cool.
It was very cool. So I never seen anything like that. So it's just like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I'm going to overshoot it. I only have 5 minutes in the cocktail hour. I've seen all this stuff at a cocktail hour before. I'm just going to overshoot this, and like I'll figure out later, and kind of wove it in to be like this sort of third character in the film.
Yeah.
But it had like, there was sort of an intention behind it being there, and the more I used it, the more it felt like it was supposed to be there, you know? So only using something like that twice and it being so spaced out, like maybe even they were so beautiful and I love those shots, and maybe you love them as the filmmaker, like the why, you know, like why is it there? Or do I give it more intention by using it more? Or do I overshoot this since I do love this, so that maybe I can figure out a way for it to end up, you know, participating a little bit more in the film. But just the only 2 shots, even though I love them so much, like, you know, just figuring out a way to kind of play that up maybe a little bit more so it has a little more relevance or intention in the film.
All right. So next is from one of our Wedding Film School members. And so if you want to join, just hit the join button. Members get priority with reviews. We also have some private content that we do, as well as some coaching stuff. And we're always trying to figure out a way to make that more beneficial to you. But this is Juanya Sloan. And this was his 3rd wedding film overall, his 1st this year. And so you're talking, and by the way, guys, we might bust through some of these films and be a little faster, but that doesn't mean anything bad. We just want to be respectful of everybody's time. But anyway, this is Juanya Sloan, and he's from Juanya Sloan Productions, and this is the film that they did. So here we go.
Jessica, I'm not sure if you had a chance to see the response that Christian had, because each of you gave me some words, and he had one thing in particular I'd like to share today to sort of set the tone for today's homily as we get ready for this sacrament of marriage. Christian said, "Being married to Jessica will be a constant reminder of the love that God has for me, and in turn, a reminder of my own love of God and the world He has created." These are really some profound words, that through your marriage, he says, he will have a constant reminder of the love that God has for him, and in turn, a reminder of his own love of God and the world God has created. You know, this is really a profound way of saying that the 2 of you are called to reveal God's face to each other. That through the love that you share, you will reveal God to the other, which is really profound to think about.
I smile thinking back on our first date. Not because you were surprised to learn it was a date, or that we happened to watch Elf well before an acceptable date to watch Christmas movies. I smile because it's remarkable to me how 2 kids who, looking back, knew so little about one another, decided to embark on an adventure that day. One that would take us to Madison, Boston, and where we sit today. Sometimes I can barely recognize the kids who sat on the couch that day, But then I look at a bit closer and see the seeds of things to come. I think you can imagine the anxiety I had as I slid my hand across the couch towards yours. In that moment, you showed me the type of partner you are. You encouraged me with a held hand, a head on the shoulder, and looks I could barely see out of the corner of my eye. And with all of your patience and encouragement, we kissed. And in that moment, the anxiety and fear melted away.
My almost husband, Christian, 3,891 days. That's how long it's been since you asked me to be your girlfriend at 2 in the morning next to the mini weenies. It's hard to believe that this day is finally here. We've been through so much already together, becoming the fun uncle and aunt, losing loved ones, going to 5 countries, raising 3 fur babies. I'm so lucky to have you by my side through all of it. You're my best friend, my boo-boo, my spuddy, and soon to be my husband. I love you, Jessica. P.S. We're going to the chapel and we're gonna get married.
To Mr. and Mrs. Christian Karcher. You may kiss the bride.
Every day he would come home from school for at least a little while. He'd go in the backyard, pick up some sticks, and fight a bunch of invisible enemies. I don't know if he still does, maybe. But he's had a lot of practice. He can be a good protector for your family.
Junior year in high school, during homecoming, when Christian asked Jessica to be his girlfriend. They finished up high school and started at the University of Wisconsin, where we all cheered on our Badgers.
In case you have never seen us before, we are members of the UW Marching Band!
So, that's the film. Again, like we said, Juanya Sloan, that's his third wedding film he's ever made. He's a member at Wedding Film School, and if you want to join, there's just a join button down there below the video. Helps out the channel a little bit, and also you get like this. So guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, especially considering it's someone's third film. Everyone involved. Bobby, I haven't heard from you in a while. How you doing, Bobby?
Here, I'm eating a carrot, so I muted my mic for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, like 30 seconds into that, if you would have told me that this was somebody's third film, or if you would have asked me, right, how many films do you think they've shot? It certainly wouldn't have been 3, or I guess 2 at that point. You know what I mean? So I love seeing that. I mean, that's something we're all about here at Wedding Film School. And so, yeah, I mean, I think you have such a great start. Like a lot of things that you're definitely executing that I feel like you don't see for a while usually. So, not to say that there aren't things that can't be worked on. I think overall, one of the things that I often comment about on these live reviews is the length of a film. And again, it gets into that conversation of, well, what did you sell the couple, and therefore what did you have to deliver? I think like that intro with the officiant, and he was kind of just, I don't know, bobbling around his words a little bit and whatnot. So I think that could be like tightened up. I think there's stuff that could be tightened up. Some stuff in the shooting, maybe not even cinematography itself, but for example, you got some pretty good solid audio from the bride reading the letter, and then the groom was outdoors. There's a lot of wind noise. It was kind of abrupt. So just kind of taking those, scenarios and being the expert in that scenario and asking for what you need, which I think is maybe one of the hardest things. We were kind of talking about that early in this, kind of one of the harder things to do early in your career is having that,
confidence that you actually know what's best. You know what looks good, sounds good. Yeah, I think that takes time.
But I think, the editing is like pretty good. I mean, obviously room for improvement, but again, like getting back to just being the third film, like some of the shots you got it combined with, putting together a story and using audio, and like, I think some of the music, the transitions could be better and stuff like that. But even just like getting enough to put together a film like that, and having the guts to try to put together a film like that when it's only your third wedding is a huge accomplishment.
And then submit it to Sculpting With Time.
And then submit it for Alex and Whitney and everybody else here.
I respect that. Like, much respect.
Yeah, jumping in head first.
Love it. So guys, what were your thoughts? Alex and Whit. What are you chewing, Alex? Oh, your audio seems to be off. What's going on?
I don't know why.
Okay.
It's back now. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so I was just going to start by saying I'm equally impressed as all of you guys are that this is anyone's third wedding, because that is a massive achievement in its own right, for sure, because it looks solid. There's great audio. There's a lot of content that he had to have to make this edit. I think a few of the things that Bobby pointed out were some of the things that I noticed, like, oh, well, maybe he shouldn't be reading his letter outside. His audio would be a lot cleaner inside. We wouldn't have some of those background noises, or just really small things that, like, sometimes when we're caught up in the moment, we don't think about, like, oh, there's a mic stand behind the bride and groom during the reception. I'm just going to go in between the speeches and I'm just going to move it out of the way so it's not in my frame. Or kind of zooming in a little bit so you crop out like a little electrical socket here, or a little eye source.
Oh, you saw the electrical socket like I did.
Yeah,
I couldn't look away.
Yeah, just like you're like so there, and I think the more you do this too, the more attuned you're going to be to these little micro details in your frame. But I think you did an amazing job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say going back to the third wedding thing, I mean, I remember going back to my first wedding. The longest I could make it was 2 minutes, for it to feel cinematic. And then for this this company to do a 7-minute film or 8-minute film on their third wedding. And like you were saying, Jared, Jason, that's a lot of content to have to come up with, and to have it look, the way it does. Sure, there are things that you can improve on, and some of the things to improve on are the easiest. Just clean up your basics. As long as you can shoot fundamentally sound and record clean audio and not have, clutter like in the background, like there was a camera on a tripod or whatever in the background, or a mic stand in another shot, or, just work on just the fundamentals and lock all that down before you even try and do anything more elaborate or more creative. And as long as you have those basic fundamentals down, you're creating a solid product as is, and then you're sort of at this like launching pad of sorts where you can go in any direction with your brand as long as you feel confident and you have those basics covered.
Yeah, totally agree. So I had a couple of things I noticed that I was going to point out that I think are easy to fix, and I was curious what your thoughts were. So the thing that first really stuck out to me as good and as a little distracting was this letter reading. I liked the letter reading. It was beautiful what she said, but all I could focus on was how much she was sniffling and how loud it was, and how I kept thinking because Jared and I are always thinking, how does a woman on her wedding day want to be portrayed? Does she want like a mic really close picking up her snot, or would she want that toned down a little bit? And I think my opinion is that maybe kind of cutting around some of the sniffles and maybe bringing them down a little, so it's not just like your ear is right in her nose. That's one thing I noticed about it. I don't know how you guys feel it, or do you feel like it's better to be totally raw?
I think it's always good to play drama, but at a certain point, it's not a bad idea to pull back once you've heard like something a lot, and maybe if it's intense sound, you could definitely pull it back a little bit, but get it there enough to where, I want to feel those.
They're breaking.
Legitimate.
You're good now. Sorry, you were just breaking up a little. You're good now.
Okay. No, just like I think it's good for the viewer to feel that this is a legitimate moment,
Mm-hmm.
and like I want to, feel the hairs in my arm stand up and this and that. But once you reach that point, like I think redundancy, once you repeat something, and the sniffles being the repeater, once you've repeated something, I think as a viewer, like, okay, I've experienced that. Like, I don't need that sort of redundancy after a while, and it lost the sort of like impact of sort of the initial sniffle, and so like, okay, let's trim it down a little bit after that.
And that's like a very experienced editor would be like, okay, I got what I wanted out of that. I'm gonna cut it. That's editing. You're editing. You're cutting out.
Right.
Like you're cutting out so that we can get to the point. And I think like as you get more experience, Juanya, you're gonna see like, I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. And that's when you're gonna start feeling good about your films. You're gonna be like, I just cut out all this junk I didn't need. Like, and then the edits start to feel tight, even tighter. And so I look at it and go like, it's a really good film. That was the one thing. And then that, honestly, I just kept looking at that lights, or that socket in the corner. But that's a little petty thing.
Well, hey, real fast, while we're talking about the letter reading, one thing, we always have couples read their own letter that they wrote to someone. So like the groom, he was reading the bride's letter, and he was saying, it's been 1,300 days since you asked me to be your girlfriend. And so there's like a gender thing kind of when you're reading the opposing partner's letter, but then also when going back to the sniffles and the emotion, like maybe there's something about them reading their own letters that makes them feel more like in control and in charge of their emotions, and like they can be emotive, but they own it in a different way. So maybe something to think about, some of the audio having people read their own words as opposed to their fiance's words.
Yeah, we always tell people on the reviews, like, definitely spend the time to do it that way as a filmmaker. I mean, honestly, do whatever you want, but like that is a nice tip, and it really helps a lot. And when you can feel the confidence to be like, hey, how about we do it this way? And I always tell people that before the wedding that we're going to do it that way, because that way they'll have it in their hands and they'll be ready and they won't be blown away by it and all that stuff. So, because some people might be like, oh, if I have to read this out loud, I'm not going to write, like, you know, they're just more intimidated by it. Really good film, man. I think there's a lot that you can do, but do you guys have anything else you want to give Juanya before we move on?
No, I just want to hammer home that this is your third film, and most people in their third film would not be willing to share it in this environment. And then it being this duration too, like there's a lot of exposure you have there, a lot of vulnerability for it to be an 8-minute film and to share it on here. And so you should be like, you know, I'm really proud of you for sharing it on here. And that's a very, you know, I wouldn't do that at my third film. So I'm very proud of you. That's an amazing thing to do. And to be able to pull that off, you're like, you have a lot of solid content there. And it's only
Alex, I would love
here.
to see your third film.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Well,
dude.
I would love, because like, to me, like I know you.
Yeah,
you know,
it's probably really
it's
terrible.
Yeah, but like you having like an art background. Well, and actually, when you guys first started doing wedding films, were you guys together at that point, or were you guys separate?
We were together. Oh yeah, we were together.
Yeah.
Whitney, I had to kind of like slowly recruit her at first because she was still doing a lot of her painting and jewelry.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, you want to come hang out and like maybe just help out here or there?
Jared tried that with his wife and didn't go this direction.
No, it didn't work out so well. I loved hanging out with her, but yeah.
Yeah. And so like, you know, she would just kind of hang out, and then she got into like, okay, well, I could do this slider shot. That's when we were using sliders and stuff like that back in the day. And I mean, she got some of the most killer shots at this ceremony and like some of the B-roll. And I think for her being a painter, like the immediacy of like, oh, I'm not spending like 6 weeks on this painting, and instantaneously, like I can have something in return from very appealing and attractive to her. So she got into it, but I mean,
I was duped entirely.
And Sculpting With Time was kind of formed like that. But our third wedding film, actually, like, I'm actually kind of proud of it. It was pretty cool. I mean, I could never do a 7-minute film, and I came from doing films beforehand. Like I went to film school and stuff, so like a very avant-garde, like kind of weird film school at that San Francisco Art Institute.
You don't say.
San Francisco Art Institute, the very first photography department in the United States, maybe even the world, was founded there. Ansel Adams started the very first photography department.
They had a class called just macro lenses on eyes.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Anyways, my third film, I used a soundtrack from In the Mood for Love, a Korean filmmaker, Wong Kar-wai. Actually, not Korean, Taiwanese, maybe, I think. And so it's very like classical, like just very different. It was a bold choice. It was okay. It was a good.
Our third film, I probably used the white dress. So.
Yeah. There you go.
First through fifth film, use that. Hey, we're getting a little bit off topic, but a question in the chat of
let's do it.
and I actually don't know this either. I think. But Alex and Whitney, what are you guys shooting on right now? Like 2021 season, and you don't have to go like in depth, but I guess just like camera bodies or whatever.
Yeah. I'm on the R5 now, which I'm loving.
Yeah.
Loving.
Yeah, she shoots a lot more handheld, and so the R5 with like the in-camera stabilization. We were coming from the 1DX2s. We really enjoy the Canon color space. And we love that they kind of hit that. Anyone else? We were shooting 60p back in like 2016, 4K 60p, that is.
Yeah.
So we trusted that, and you know, our footage from 5 years ago still stands up to Oh, I'm getting unstable. Can you guys hear me?
You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our footage from 5 years ago still stands up to like stuff that's being made now. But yeah, so we've stayed loyal to Canon. They're sponsoring Vision Quest, by the way. So I'm slightly biased, but yeah, I'm on the 1DX3 right now. I really love its autofocus capabilities. I love that I can kind of hit a lot of different formats. It can do in-camera RAW. It can do everything's oversampled for its 4K. It's like a 5.4K sensor, so
Beautiful.
everything's just a little sharper than just straight 4K. But I like the heavier body versus the R5. It just feels better in my hands.
Me
even though
too.
it's
I always
not
think like all these
stabilized.
tiny cameras. I just, it's
Yeah.
not my thing.
And just with the camera strap, I can kind of lock in with my elbows and kind of get it as smooth, I feel like, or close. I'm probably like 20% off of what in-camera.
And you guys, you broke up a little, Alex, but I was going to say, you guys are editing in Premiere still, right?
Yes, everything's in Premiere for me.
Cool.
Um,
Sorry, you broke up there. Were you saying something else?
We're breaking up, man. I don't know if you can hear me.
No, you're
I'm not
good
sure
now.
what's going on.
I was going to say, why don't we let that catch up, and we're going to have Bobby kind of promote our sponsor, and then we're going to do our final film. We're going to let you guys go.
Yeah, so we've got our sponsor, once again, YOLO Live, who makes the YOLO box, which you can see right here. Yeah, you guys have heard about this on our weekly streams. We're big fans of the YOLO box, an all-in-one live streaming solution. So if you are offering live streaming to your couples, especially if you don't want a whole, table with your computer and all your cords running, like this thing, it just pops on top of your camera, plug your camera in. You can run multiple cameras in if you want. You can run a wireless system into this. And then you're just switching back and forth between your cameras. You're live streaming onto YouTube, onto Twitch, onto Facebook, onto
Easy
Twitter.
as pie.
Yeah, you can do a custom live stream too. You can record into it. You can run it off Ethernet or Wi-Fi. You can put
You can shoot ring shots on it.
You can. I have shot ring shots on this for the reflection.
If somebody was robbing you, I think would serve as a good weapon.
Better than your phone, for sure.
Yes.
It's a little bit bigger than your phone.
Yes.
So, yeah, many thanks to them for sponsoring the live stream this week. And do we want to talk real quick? Just plug Vision Quest one
Yeah,
more
let's
time?
just like post the link down there.
Yeah.
Because I really think like, hey, listen, if you have $1,500 and time to go to Austin, there's no better use. If you want to become a better filmmaker, of course, you should come to the weekly live stream of Wedding Film School and listen to the podcast and watch all our videos. That will help a lot. But I think the best use of your money, head down to Vision Quest.
Vision Quest was the most inspiring and like connection building, and I'm like not good at networking, nor do I like it. And
We had lunch
but you
there,
get-
Bob.
Me, Jason, and Jared met there. That's
Vision
where I met
Quest
Jason
is
and
the
Jared.
reason we have Wedding Film School.
That's honestly,
that's pretty.
There's some
awesome.
truth to that.
That's true.
But like, yeah, that connection on a level, like I don't like networking stuff because I don't like surface level stuff, and I don't like small talk. And the level of connection that existed, in a large part due to the way Whitney and Alex, you guys approached it and built it, is huge. And the inspiration that comes from hearing some of the top people in the game, and even kind of in other games slightly too, which is pretty cool too.
My whole day was based on Vision Quest.
Yeah.
Like when you think about it, I had lunch with Henry, who I met at Vision Quest. I did a live stream with you, who I met at Vision Quest, and I'm doing a thing about Vision Quest. It's very meta, actually. So
yeah, go check it out. We posted the link in the chat.
So this last film, guys, this is a filmmaker who they submit a good amount, and I almost always do their films because, first of all, it's Nikon. So that's weird. Like, because not a lot of people do Nikon, and I think people forget, like, that you can make great work on those, and the colors are nice. So it's two Nikon Z6s, Moments Photography, So this is what he says. Solo shooter with 2 Nikon D6s and native glass, DJI Air 2 and DJI Ronin S. 4-hour trip up north the coast. I believe he's in New Zealand, right? I think he's a Kiwi down there. Hopefully that's not like a terrible slur. Oh no, he's Australian. So that would be a slur that I called you.
It might be, yeah.
That I called you a New Zealander. But anyway, 4-hour trip up north the coast. Day went wonderfully. Only small wedding after affair. No major hiccups. The bridal party left to the pub and missed out on all the photos, which meant we lost a lot of shots. Also have a flower man in butterfly wings, which was fantastic. My partner shot photos for the day, which always helps getting out of each other's way. 2,300 Australian, which I think is around like 3,200, 3,500 American. I honestly love this guy's work so much, Alex, and I feel like there's something here that's really beautiful. So I want to show you guys this work, and you're gonna love it. Oh, Alex and Whit are gone. Oh, they're back.
They're back.
They're back. All right. So you guys ready to watch the film, Alex? Thumbs up.
Yes.
We're ready.
We're ready.
Okay, here we go. Oh, I messed it up again. How many times will I do this, Bobby?
Once a stream at least.
So gorgeous, baby.
Thanks, Dad. You ready to walk me down?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Old hat now.
Nice. It's old hat now, he says.
So funny.
Oh, you're so beautiful. I love you.
I love you too.
You are amazing. You are funny. You are strong. You are smart. You are beautiful. All the kids look up to you, as I do, literally. A loving partner, a best friend, and a loving mother. Your strength, your dedication, your support, your patience, your unconditional love has allowed me to reach a level of growth I didn't expect to. I promise always to work on us when things are hard, to love you a little bit more when you can't love yourself. I'll always love you, to be faithful and honest.
Since getting together just over 2 years ago, my life has completely changed. I've had a lot of work to do on myself, and you've loved me and stuck by me unflinchingly the entire time. In you, I've found a true life partner and my best friend. You push me to achieve my dreams and support me in all that I do. You make me laugh, you bring me peace, and you challenge me. You are the most incredible man I've ever known, and I didn't think that someone like you existed. Nathan, I promise to work on this relationship with you and not give up when things seem too hard. I promise to lift you up on your hard days. I promise to be honest and loyal and faithful to you and to put you before anyone else. I promise to love you and to support you in whatever it is that you want to do. I promise to love our kids and to do whatever I can to support them and help you to support them. From this day forward, I promise that you'll never need to walk through anything alone. I'll always be by your side.
sunset burning on the golden shore. Never seen a view like this before. The stars, they shine like diamonds in your eyes. Black dress on, you got me hypnotized. I keep feeling away, I keep feeling away, I keep feeling away about you. No, I can't look away, no, I can't look away, no, I can't look away, 'cause I need you. My heart keeps beating like an island drum, 'cause you're my only one. You make me feel so good. Feel so good. You make me feel so good. Feel so good. Neon shining on the boulevard, dancing underneath the champagne stars. You make me feel like I'm forever young, 'cause you're my only one. You make me feel so good. Feel so good. You make me feel so good. Feel so good. You make me feel so good. Feel so good. You make me feel so good. Feel so good. I keep feeling away, I keep feeling away, I keep feeling away about you. No, I can't look away, no, I can't look away, no, I can't look away, 'cause I need you. You make me feel so good. Feel so good. You make me feel so good. Feel so good. You make me feel so good. Feel so good. You make me feel so good. Feel so good. You make me feel so good. Feel so good. You make me feel so good.
There we go. Moments. Great job. Really, a lot of beautiful stuff in there, right, guys?
Oh yeah, that like, I mean, other good shots in here too, but that drone work, right? I mean, come on, that drone work was awesome. Obviously very beautiful scenery and location, but super well captured, and just, yeah, I love a lot of the scene setting stuff in this, in addition to other stuff as well, but very beautiful.
Yeah, I'm always intrigued by the Nikon colors, because it's just a color space I'm not used to seeing. So
Yeah.
when I see his films, I'm always like, oh, the colors are so interesting. But it's like, since it's a camera I'm not used to seeing. So
we had somebody shoot Nikon.
Same
Wait,
person.
Was that Moments? Okay.
Yeah, he
Was
shoots
that
Nikon,
2
and I'm
weeks
always
ago or
like,
something?
man, maybe more people should shoot Nikon. It looks good. So the only thing I noticed is that the highlights the way the highlights fall off on that is a little hard. But other than that, I really like the way it looks. It's an awesome looking image.
It
Anyway,
looks
guys,
great.
what do you think, Alex and Whit?
Ditto. I think footage is super solid. It's beautiful. Some of those light conditions were not the easiest, and I think it looked gorgeous, and it had great pacing throughout the whole film.
I would say too, like, that move to the second song is like usually one of the harder things for filmmakers to like hit properly, and that's like straight down shot looking down on the ocean, those two
cool.
rocks. It was a beautiful shot, and I wasn't like totally necessarily ready or like knowing that that's where the transition was going to happen. And then the speed ramped, and then the next song hit, and I was like, oh man, they like sucked me in again, and like just like really hit that transition into the next song, which is not the easiest thing to do. So that's probably the thing that stood out to me the most in the film, honestly, was just hitting that second song transition like perfectly. I felt like,
for some reason, this moment, 2 reasons I like this moment. First of all, the kid is hysterical and falls in, and I like normally with little kids, I'm like, oh, too many little kids in this film. But like I like the way it was included, and like what I also love is he used the song, cut away, and then cut back to the kid getting out of the grass. Like it's like kid falls, song punctuates, and then next shot. It's like it's just super sophisticated, like storytelling elements like that I find like I'm just like, oh, it's so smart. Like I felt that moment, and it was like on a tripod or something. It was like locked down. Like I felt like it was in the grass. Like I just feel like he does a really good job like putting me in the place.
Yeah, there was another shot in that grass where it was a girl. It was
yes,
a portrait
the little
where she was
girl
just kind of staring straight at the camera, but
that shot right there too.
It felt very natural, and she kind of looked away and then looked at the camera, and it just felt like it's hard to pull off those portraits to where it doesn't feel like forced, and to where like you're capturing a bit of like their soul or their integrity. And it's even harder to do that, I feel like, with children. Like in an environment like that where it's like, look at the camera. So I thought that was really well executed. It was right after the transition into the second song too. So like really stood out from whatever you're gonna put there, like it better hit hard, like in those few following shots right after that transition to the next song. And I thought it was, there you go. It was a bold choice to put that there, but it worked really well.
Yeah, I think it's, so in terms of critique, I have one critique with the whole film that I'm not sure you could have done anything about. So I always keep that in mind with these films, is like, you can't just do whatever you want at weddings, and you have restrictions, and you have time limits you got to hit. So obviously I think the film's a little bloated. If this was a 5-minute film, it would be much, much better. And like a lot of times,
some of that though, like I feel the same way, and I'm wondering if some of that is because there was just very little audio. There was a few like ambient audio stuff, but there was no really story driving audio in the second half, right?
Yeah, that's probably what it was in the second half. And I think he was self-conscious about the environment. And I would say this is what I was going to say. My opinion is, like, if I was in a raw environment like that, like a pub, I would shoot it much rawer. Like I would get handheld. I would try to get in that crowd. I would want to feel like I was in a pub and lean into that moment, and not just kind of move back and forth in this one aisle on a gimbal, because I felt like I could feel the restriction, and I just wanted to like more feel like I was at the pub with the people. And I think like I felt that way the whole rest of the film. Like I was at this wedding with these people, and in the pub, it was very obvious to me that I was on a gimbal. So that's my feedback on that. I think it could be like, just lean into the rawness of that moment.
For sure.
And
that makes sense.
That's it.
I don't know. I would say like, all these films have been that kind of 7-8 minute format.
Yes.
Which I find kind of interesting. I didn't know that's what everyone was doing these days.
That's what everybody's selling, man. Like, actually, many are much longer.
Yeah.
We won't, like, we're kind of like trying to get people to not even submit those, but like I think in the industry, like most young filmmakers, by the way, this was $1,700 American.
Wow.
Crazy.
Really? That's crazy.
It's so good, right? And I always tell them, I'm like, oh, you got to move out of Australia. You got to come to the States.
Well, we were talking last time. We were like, we want to get this guy in touch with Bottle Brush.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's just like there's so much here as a filmmaker. So much natural talent. You just see, and even the editing is tight. Like it's really well edited, and I really was like excited to put this, because I always tell them like, you got to go watch Alex and Whitney. You got to go watch Sculpting with Time, and kind of looking.
The common theme on our live stream.
Pretty much all we tell people to do. No, I actually don't, because I don't think everyone, but I think his films could be benefited from like a little more of that attention to like detail that you guys have, where you're like catching all these little moments and stuff, because I think he can do it.
Yeah.
I think he could take this another level.
That's like the common theme, though. Like I'm hearing from Alex and Whitney is just like, you know, when you're creating a film, it seems like you guys just kind of create whatever, you know, comes to you know, comes into your world, and whatever you guys are looking to create is like essentially what you guys create. Like, do you guys have like a time that you promise every one of your clients, or maybe explain to us and the people out there kind of how you guys structure things so that we can learn and, you know, create the films that we want to be able to create?
You mean like our durations of
things like
a
that.
duration, because a lot of times it seems like people are constrained to, I have to make a 7-minute film.
Because
Is
that's
that
what they
you
bought,
guys do?
you know.
Yeah. So we offer a few different film types, and our clients kind of choose which one they want, or they choose a hybrid of a few different films. We do, you know, a 4 to 5 minute highlight, an 8 to 10 minute short film, or a 15-minute feature film. People that get that long 15-minute feature film, we always try to encourage them to get a 4 to 5 minute highlight film also, or a 1-minute Instagram, because you want them to also have that experience of being like totally mind blown by something and having something really fast paced. All of our edits, so even the 15-minute films, we try to keep that exact same pacing as our 4 to 5 minute highlight films. So it just requires a whole lot of content to stay so dense and dynamic.
Yeah.
Would you guys
ever
ever
allow you guys to like shoot more and sell more shooting essentially?
Wait, what was that question, Jared?
Sorry.
Does that allow you guys to sell more like shooting sessions or like portrait sessions with the bride and groom if you're doing like a 15-minute long?
Yes, definitely.
Cool.
If you want that larger film package or duration, then we're going to suggest having the most amount of content as possible, maybe even having an extra shooter depending on, you know, what the circumstances are of the wedding. And, you know, even just starting the entry point level at that 4 to 5 minute, that allows us to upsell that 7 to 8 minute, you know, that's the middle tier versus the entry level. And it makes it easier on us as far as the edit, not easier, because even with that 4-minute edit, like I feel like it's kind of like a double-edged sword or catch-22. Yes, it's a shorter duration, but okay, if it is a shorter duration, then I can't go with this level of pacing throughout the film. I have to have everything be so intentional, and I have to like really, you know, have so many layers and sort of ways of the story intertwining and ways to kind of keep the audience on the edge of their seat. Versus like if it's 7-8 minutes, like I can hit it with the intro and maybe like coast it a little more in the middle and then like hit it in the end, and like so I don't know if there's an easier format necessarily, but like it still allows that there to be 3 packages, I guess, where I can kind of upcharge in various ways.
Yeah, I mean that's a big challenge of becoming a filmmaker, is like figuring out how to sell what you sell. And so we definitely, one of the big things for us is Adrian, we do this once a week, so come every Thursday. One of the big things for us is not just talking about filmmaking, but talking to people about how to sell their filmmaking, because ultimately, like we don't make the best film, but I sell a lot of films. And like ultimately, like depending on what you want to do artistically and what makes you feel satisfied, also there's this idea of what do people want to buy? And what are they willing to buy, and how do you satisfy the customer? You know, it's like me being satisfied, in the sweet spot is when everyone's happy. Like when I'm happy, when they're happy, and so like that's the dream, that's the goal, guys, and that's really what Wedding Film School is all about, is getting you to feel artistically satisfied. We did a podcast last week where he said, you know, hey, how do we become more artistically fulfilled making wedding films? Like it's easy to get in the rut. It's easy to get bored. It's easy to get tired. And like ultimately that is the goal, guys, being fulfilled, being excited, having a good time, but also making money while you're doing it. I think ultimately, guys, That's what it's all about. Alex, Whitney, thank you so much for spending like a long time with us today. We really appreciate it. Hopefully you had fun at least.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We don't get to do stuff like this normally.
Yeah, we've missed seeing you guys.
Yeah.
I know, it's been for real so long.
Vegas is coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do feel like I hope this was genuinely helpful for the participants, not only the people's films that we watched, like their films, but for anyone else that was watching. I feel like this is all like universal feedback and constructive criticism, and that I'm learning even just by watching it, because it's not stuff that I'm normally forced to like put into words, and so it's normally just something very intuitive, and I think that's something that is really cool. The further you go down this career path, and the more experience you gain, and the more like in tune and confident you become with your own art, and watching other people's work, is that sort of intuitive nature as far as knowing when to cut, or when to hold something, or when to add something. Like art is such a like a I don't know, like
Alex, have you ever watched the YouTube video Music Explained in 4 Levels of Complexity?
Yeah, no, I haven't.
So what I love about it's like it starts with like a professional musician talking to a child about music. It ends with a professional musician talking to Herbie Hancock.
Okay, awesome. That sounds amazing.
It's really cool, and it goes in 4 levels of complexity. And what you see is like the farther you get down the rabbit hole, the more feeling terminology they use and the less concrete terminology.
Mm-hmm.
It starts to be like that has like a squishy vibe, and like it's like you start speaking in terms of how it makes you feel and not in terms of how to technically do it. And I think like film critique, wedding filmmaking is at the end of the day, at the beginning, it's all about tech. How do I get this right? How do I get my exposure? Like, and there's some things you need to do storytelling wise or fundamentals. But at the end of the day, it's about how does this make you feel, and how does this make your audience feel? And I think like the more you work with people like and talk to people like Alex and Whitney, and hopefully us, the more you feel, yeah, there are some right and wrong things, but ultimately there's also no right and wrong things when it comes to wedding filmmaking.
Yeah, I think the key takeaway, anything that we're saying is like experienced, like whatever veterans, like art is subjective. Accolades are subjective. Awards are subjective. Like once all this stuff, like we can give feedback, but it's all coming through our lens, our perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's all very valuable insight, but like it really at the end of the day depends on what direction you're trying to go, what you're trying to create, what you're trying to so all I can give you is feedback from like my point of view, and that isn't a like that isn't an end all be all, superior point of view. It's a subjective point of view, so take it as you will, and the more eyes you have on your work the better, but it is subjective.
Whitney, thank you so much I always love seeing you.
So nice to see you guys.
Looking forward. But if you're watching this, we're going to try to maybe do something with a little hangout with filmmakers in Vegas at WPPI. I'm not sure if what's going to happen or if it's going to work out, but if you're there, definitely look us up and try to say, what are we doing? Let's hang out. Because we want to hang out with you guys. I was with Henry. Henry's going to be there. Bobby's going to be there. Jared's going to be there. We're going to have a good time.
Everybody's going to be there.
Everybody's going to be there. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're
Whitney and Alex, where can people find, what's the website for them to sign up? If they're looking to go to Vision Quest, where can they
We've been posting it.
Get a ticket? We've been posting it?
Yeah, what do you think we are? Idiots, Jared?
A couple times here. You want to check out Vision Quest? There you go. There's the link twice for you. Highly recommended by everybody here.
FOMOisreal.com. There it
Filmos
is.
is real, y'all.
Y'all.
We're from Texas, boy.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much, Alex and Whitney. Hopefully you guys got something out of the stream. If you're watching, love it if you can hit that like button. It helps out our channel. And also, we'd love it if you would go support our friends Alex and Whitney by just obviously following their work. And, of course, go hang out at Vision Quest with everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Wedding Film School Live. We're going to see you guys again. If you want to submit a film, just head over to our website, weddingfilm.school, and click on the link, and you can submit a film for live review. We're always keeping a list. We do encourage you to try to submit every week because sometimes it gets hard and the list gets a little buried. So, yeah, have a great night, guys.
See ya.